Hi, how you going? Renee here. I usually do in bed with Renee sessions, but today I decided to jump on. Thanks to everyone who's been reaching out who have been missing my online sessions. I think it was, weeks ago now, I was like showing up pretty regularly. And I think I was going to show up on a Wednesday, and a Wednesday is the day I have my counselling sessions. And I had a massive session with my counsellor, which just kind of knocked me. And it actually took a couple of weeks. Hey Neats, hey Charlene. It took me a couple of weeks to kind of recover. And so that session was just really intense. And so for a couple of weeks I felt really raw and exposed and vulnerable, and gosh, I just had to look after myself, and I felt like I couldn't show up on here because I was just dealing with so much stuff that was going on. But anyway, it's been my mission to show up again for you. And this morning I was having a conversation with a friend, and she said something to the effect of, I know it's silly, but this is how I'm feeling. And so I kind of just said to him, like, my gosh, feelings are never silly. They might seem silly, but, never dismiss them as being silly. There's a reason that you're feeling those feelings. So kind of feel into them, acknowledge them. And so it just kind of reminded me about what I wanted to talk about all those Wednesdays ago, was that whole feeling your feelings, which can be really challenging. And I know because of that experience I had with my counsellor weeks ago, like it was physically and mentally like draining. I was exhausted, and I basically was in that, I think it was for a couple of weeks, and I have, friends and stuff who can even, kind of not validate, I don't know, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, but I could feel it physically. And I was just, and I remember thinking to myself, fuck, no wonder people don't want to deal with this shit, because this is fucking hard. And so, so I wanted to basically just share some ideas of how you can feel your feelings, because I know for a lot of us, it's not normal. Well, not normal. We just don't know how to deal. We haven't been taught. People kind of have their struggles and stuff, but it's so important that we learn how to do it, and we learn what works for us. So I've came up with a couple of ideas. Feel free to try them and just see what works for you. One of the big ones that works for me is journaling. So I've always kind of been a journaler. I kind of go through phases where I stop, but this year I've kind of got back into it. It's kind of like your 24 hour, 7 days a week counselor, right? Like it's this little book. You can literally just dump all your stuff, all your shit into it, and it's always there for you. And what I find interesting too is that, you can kind of go back. I quite often will go back a couple of weeks and kind of read where I was like a couple of weeks ago and go, man, I've kind of worked my way through that. And so, that's another thing. And my gosh, journals are, whether you're a physical writer, like get a really nice journal, something that just inspires you to kind of write and be in the moment with that, a nice pen, all that kind of stuff, and kind of make it like a bit of a ritual for yourself. It's really incredible. Another thing that helps for a lot of people is talking to a friend. My suggestion with this is always talk to a friend that kind of understands and is not going to put their shit onto you, because there's a lot of people who do. They don't know how to deal with other people's stuff, so there's a lot of people who just turn it around on them and kind of give their opinions when I know I've learned for me, when I talk about stuff, I don't want people to kind of fix me or feel like they have to give me a solution. I just need to kind of offload. So find those friends that work for you in that sense. And I found this really good book, The Reality Slap. So when I was doing my depression counselling all those years ago, my counsellor kind of used this guy's kind of theory and strategies. But in chapter 3, he talks about choosing the right people to talk to about your situation. So the type of people you're kind of looking for are those who will hold your hand or place an arm around you. They'll validate your pain and just say, this must be so hard for you. I can't even begin to imagine what you're going through. There's people who will just say nothing and just literally sit with you and allow you to be. As opposed to those who are just like, who would tell you to kind of like think positively, you'll be right, or, what you should do is this, or have you thought about doing this? So just have a real think about when you're trying to feel those feelings, like who you want to share that with, someone who will actually benefit from sharing your stuff with. I have a few friends like that who will literally... I have one who's absolutely amazing, who will drop everything for me. She shows up. I remember one time she looked after my kids while I was at counselling. I came back and she's like, how was it? And I just burst into tears, and she sat and hugged me, which is massive because I probably don't have a lot of friends who would just sit and hug me while I bawl my eyes out. And it was a real like mum cuddle. She literally just sat there, was stroking my arm while I sobbed my eyes out. And it's those types of friends you need who are just there for you. So number 2 is chat with a friend, but pick the right friend. Another thing that I kind of Googled was just like sitting in quietness and just kind of be in tune. And in tune with your body, and so notice how you're feeling those things like in your body. I'll have to go and find it, but there's I saw something like an image that kind of talked about where you feel your internal pain, not like physical pain, but where you're feeling these feelings, that type of pain in your body is a reflection of kind of what's going on for you. So I'll see if I can find that. But this guy that I found, I haven't got his name on here, but he basically talks about the energy of your emotions being in your physical body. And so he talks about being in tune with your body. So whether it's tension in your shoulders or a pit of fear in your belly, it may feel like darkness in your chest, tune in and feel it somewhere, like just feel it. And so he instructs you to do it this way, so I'll read it out because I think it's quite valuable. As you notice the energy of this feeling, you'll become aware of an area where it's more intense. Zoom in with your sense of feeling to notice where it's most intense. Allow your awareness to penetrate down into it, to feel into it. Just be completely present and in the very center of the most intense part of the energy of the feeling. Even though it's intense, you can be there as you continue to feel into it just by being there. It's not uncommon that the intensity of the energy will change. Sometimes it'll become more intense, but stay right in the center, in the very heart of the most intense part of the energy of the feeling. That's where it's the safest. You're not getting wrapped up in or getting lost in or succumbing to overwhelmment of the feelings. It's like a laser beam of awareness going down a vortex into the eye of the hurricane of the intensity of this feeling. The idea is to feel it so clearly that there's nothing left to feel. I just found that really intense. So yeah, give that a go. Another thing that works for me is to just keep digging a little bit deeper into the feelings. Hey Pauline, hey Louise. So yesterday I caught up with someone. I walked away from it and got upset because they just made me feel like utter shit about myself, to be honest. And so obviously I will be reevaluating that friendship with this person, but, kind of sat in that feeling of not feeling very good about myself to then, like an hour later, kind of digging deeper and go, okay, so what was it this person said or did that made me feel this way? Why did they make me feel this way? Why am I feeling those feelings? And just kind of like digging deeper and just to see if you can kind of get to the bottom of like what it is that's kind of generating those feelings for you. That might be helpful too. And then the last thing on my list, number 5, was if you can, I seriously recommend using a counsellor. So I'm literally sitting outside waiting to go and see my counsellor today. It's the one thing that I just every week are just like, thank goodness I have her. She is amazing, and it just gives me this opportunity to kind of just offload, download, and have someone kind of external, you know, because they're not really emotionally involved in you, so they can kind of just sit there and kind of see the overall picture and help you to link things and kind of just pick up on what's kind of going, and also too just to kind of help you dig deeper as to what's going on. So those are my 5 tips for feeling your feelings. I hope one of them possibly could be helpful, so give them a go. So number 1 was journal, number 2 was chat with a friend, but the right friend. And number 3 was to get quiet and tune in to where those feelings are kind of showing up physically for you. Number 4 was to kind of dig deeper a little bit, and ask a question, why? Why am I feeling this way? What happened to make me feel this way? Kind of all that self-discovery stuff. And number 5, you know, if you can, use the services of a counsellor, because they are amazing in there. Yeah, when you find the right one, it will be of real benefit to you. So try them out. I'd love to hear how they go for you. If you do, give it a go. And yeah, enjoy the sunshine. I think today would be the perfect day to take your shoes off and stand on the grass. I'm going to do that when I finish my counselling session. So yeah, look after yourself. I need to take that on board myself. But it's been really great hanging out with you, and I really hope that was helpful. See you next time. Bye.